let me welcome you officially to Refining Your Aim with Research. And my name is Wendy Frados. I'll be your presenter for today's session. I call myself an online job search specialist and a librarian. My background is in research. I have a master's degree in library science, and I have been using my research skills to stay on top of the impact of the Internet on job search and on career transition for over 12 years now. A lot has changed in the past 12 years, and today I'm really excited to bring you up to date on the latest and greatest of our research tools and show you how you can use them in your own transition. So we're going to do some live demos. That's going to be most of the session, and start out with just some good information about how you can incorporate research into your transition. I see Catherine, thank you so much for your text chat. Catherine is recently, she's looking for a new position after 20 years in the insurance industry as an operations manager and starting to interview, and she's been using the business browser for research. And good for you, Catherine, because you've hit upon the #1 tool to be using to prepare your research for your interview. And hopefully when we get out there and do a demo of business browser, I can show you some more even some little nuances that you might not have come across yourself that will really help you in your interview preparation. And I'd like to begin just by talking about using research to set yourself apart from the competition in today's challenging job market. As a researcher, I have to say I am just convinced that research can truly make or break your chances, not only of securing a job opportunity, but also of determining whether a specific company or a specific opportunity is the right fit for you. Research intersects with every part of the transition process. It looks like some of the participants here today are looking very, very specifically at certain industries, certain disciplines, but also you may be taking this time to explore some additional career options, some things maybe some different things aside from what you had been doing in the past. And research is going to really help you with this. It's going to help you explore career options. It's going to help you assess that market, assess the job market in whatever geography you're located in, whatever geography you're targeting for your job search. And we already, with just a few people, looks like we have people from all over the country here. We use research to find networking contacts, and this is just very, very critical because as you may have heard us say before, networking is the #1 way of learning about job opportunities. So using research to find the contacts is very, very important. You can use research to excel in job interviews. Catherine just mentioned that that's what she's using the business browser for. And you can also use it to personalize your correspondence. You can use it to create a cover letter that's really just going to make you stand out from the pack, because it's not going to be some kind of dry, generic cover letter. It's going to be a cover letter based on the research that you've done. You can use the research to gather in-depth information on companies, people, industries, including finding out who's hiring and learning where you might fit in. You know, there are many opportunities out there that have not even hit the published job market. But if you understand how to search through the news, how to find the right contacts, you have the possibility of finding out about and connecting to job opportunities long before they would ever be published on any website or on any job board. One of the great pieces, I think, of today's workshop is going to be a demo of creating target lists of companies. Target marketing is a particularly effective job search strategy, and target lists are lists of companies that fit your specific criteria, whether it be the location, the company size, the industry. So if you're interested in looking at companies, for example, in the telecom industry, if you're looking at companies in Austin, Texas, you're looking for large companies, you're looking for small companies, you can list your specific criteria, plug it into the database, and come up with a list of companies that fit your criteria and that can potentially use someone with your skills and your experience. So we're going to go through that exercise here today. But it's just not really one part of this whole transition process that doesn't rely heavily on research for success. And when you are in IMPAXIS, when you are on the website and you're going through the different transition topic areas, under each and every one of these categories, you are going to see many, many links to research databases, to websites, and all kinds of other articles, feeds, information that you can use to move you along in every step of your transition. I like to begin the session with a story. This is a true story, and it was from one of the candidates who attended this workshop. I just want to take the time for a minute here to welcome Steve, who I see has joined us. Steve, welcome. We just got started. We're just talking about what we're going to do here today, and if you could throw an introduction into text chat, tell us a little about yourself, that would be great. Welcome to the workshop. Let me tell you something about what happened here in another session. One of the participants in the workshop said that he had used Business Browser and that it got him to a third interview. And this kind of goes back for me to what Catherine said about how she was just starting to interview and had been using Business Browser. Well, this story wasn't over when the candidate made this statement, so hopefully not only did it get him to the third interview, but I always hope that he eventually secured that job opportunity as well. But he was in the running for a position in the marketing department of GlowPoint. GlowPoint is a provider of video communication solutions, and it is located in New Jersey. So prior to the first interview, the candidate researched the company, researched the industry, he researched the people in the company, did all this using the Business Browser, and he set up what we call an alert. So he would be continually aware of news stories and articles related to the company. And I'm going to show you how you can set up alerts for yourself. When this candidate woke up on the morning of February 19th, and that was the first morning of his interview, here's the alert that he saw. The news had come in that very morning. You can see February 19th. And it was important news that GlowPoint had appointed a new Senior VP of Sales and Marketing. And when he clicked on the title, brought up the full text of the article, here's what he saw. GlowPoint hires telecommunications sales leader to drive market share growth. And as he went through and started to read the article, he saw that GlowPoint had announced the hire of Thomas Brown as new Senior VP of Sales and Marketing. So it was announced, new management in the marketing department, and now we have his name. It went through to give some background on Thomas Brown. It went on with some quotes from Thomas Brown about what his goals were at GlowPoint. So remember, this candidate is vying for a position in the marketing department of GlowPoint, and I'd like to ask you what you think. Do you have any thoughts on how the candidate can use this information to his advantage when he gets to the interview? Give me a check mark or a hand raise if you have any thoughts about that. Okay, well, let me ask you this then. If this were you, if you were interviewing that very day for a position in the marketing department, and in the morning you saw this article and you got this information, would you be glad that you'd read this before you went out to the interview? Give me a check mark, yes, if you think that that would be something that you could use. Somehow you could use that and it would be Greg says you bet. Okay, that's good. That's the answer I wanted. And Catherine just made a really good comment. he can use the information to bring out the goals that they share. And that is, I really appreciate that comment, because that is something that is so important in the interview. You know, it's, first of all, understanding his goals is going to help you figure out some really good questions to ask about the organization and the roles of the people in the department. And you now have, you know, some information that can help you engage in a two-way conversation. And I really like that, because I don't like to think of an interview as an interrogation. I think it's much more successful way to have an interview is to think of it as a two-way conversation, back and forth, and that you have some information that you can share. Obviously, if you're thinking about your objective in the interview, you want to familiarize yourself with the needs of the company and prove to them that you can help them achieve their goals. That's what you're there for, to help them, to prove that you can help them achieve their goals. So really, this information could not be any better, and the comment was really quite perceptive that Catherine made. I think it's also impressive just that you know what was announced today. It demonstrates your interest in the company, shows you've done your homework, and that differentiates you from the competition. Other people may get to that interview and not have read this, not have had this behind them. So it's an important piece of information. And when we get out to Business Browser, today's session, as I said, is going to consist of a live demo. I'm going to show you how to use that database to find the information that's important to you. First of all, I just want to briefly introduce you to Business Browser. It's a subscription resource that we pay for our candidates to use. It's not a resource that sits free on the web. You need to come into IMPAXIS to access the Business Browser. It is a database of approximately 13 million U.S. public and private companies, 13 million Canadian, and 150,000 international companies. We like to refer to Business Browser as our one-stop shop for company, people, and industry research. You can use Business Browser to create an in-depth company profile that includes articles, news, press releases, financial investment reports, industry overview, trends, forecasts. I could go on, but you'll see it for yourself in just a minute. The other thing that I am going to demo today that I talked about a little bit earlier is creating a target list of companies in Business Browser. You know, the target marketing will allow you to find companies that you want to work for, companies hopefully that can use someone with your skills and experience. So I'll show you how you can plug in your own criteria and then come up with a list of companies that will be very good possibilities for you. You can also use the Business Browser to search through thousands of news sources, and that is one of my favorite features of the database. As you saw with the article that we just looked at, the news alert, the news is updated every 30 minutes, so we're not dealing with a static database. And the news comes quickly, it comes in a timely fashion, and the database itself contains thousands of publications, including top industry publications, local business publications, and local newspapers. So what I'm going to do at this point is take you out there to IMPAXIS, and we'll walk through the Business Browser. And you should be seeing the IMPAXIS homepage on your screen. You also should be seeing a bar at the bottom of your screen, a bar of icons. And if you hover your mouse, it'll tell you what each of the icons stands for. If you hover over the figure of the two heads, it'll say participants. You want to click on that because that'll bring our names back up, and then we can, you know, see each other in the raised hands and the checks and the X's and all that stuff. And if you hover over the chat, then it's a little icon of a talk bubble. Click on that, brings the text chat back up and we can see each other's comments. So hopefully, Greg, you've got that. And if you have a question, please just use the hand raised, and you can throw it into text chat, or I can always pass the mic to anybody who does have a mic. And for those of you who haven't introduced yourselves and are listening and hearing us, it'd be great if you threw some information in to text chat, because that way when we get to the different resources, I can really steer you to some that I think would be important for you. Let's go out to the business browser. I'm going to go out through a shortcut. The quickest way to get there is just to scroll down under Research Tools and click on the business browser. And then just go ahead and launch Business Browser. You all have your own private entryways to Business Browser once you get to this point. And there was nothing you had to do to set up your account. We set it up for you when we entered your name into IMPAXIS. But you will notice that one of the nice things having an account allows you to do is it allows you to save items. So we'll talk about that. There's saved items here, there's saved items down here, and if you want to save companies so you can jump back and forth easily and read the latest news, very easy to do that. You can create those target lists I talked about and save those, and you can create news topics that you'd like to search on and then save all that as well. This menu that you see here across the top, this is the navigation menu. It's on the top of every screen, and I'm going to make sure that you know everything that's in there, but I'm also going to direct your attention to this home page here because it has some nice features. Once you start using this to research companies, you'll develop your own list of recently viewed companies, and you can jump back forth very easily. Saved items, as I said. Top business news, this is very generic in nature, probably won't be of interest to you specifically, but I'm going to show you how to get to the news that you really need to know about. I would like to start with the quick search because it's just a real easy way to jump into the database. And if you go into companies and you look up a company where you're interviewing or researching just because you're interested in it for one reason or another, you just simply type the company name in, and I always recommend use the shortest version of the company name. There's a good chance if you click, I'm using a really big one, Microsoft here, because I want to make some points about that, and but it's, you know, it's a pretty good bet that if you, with 13 million companies, your company is going to be in here, even if it's a small private company. And if you're not finding it, there's also a very good chance that you're not spelling it correctly, or you're not entering it in the exact way that the company has entered their name. So that's why I suggest double check the spelling, use the shortest version of the company name. It's better to see too much than too little. That way you can at least start to sort the names so you get to the right place. For a huge company like Microsoft, you can see that you can sort by geography. But no matter what subsidiary of a company you're interested in, whatever branch of a company you're interested in, you'll go into that branch, you'll take a look at the information, but you'll always find that there's a link to the parent company. And when you're doing research on a company, it's very important to get to the parent company. The majority of your research will be done at the site of the parent company because it does hold the bulk of the information on the company. So I'm going to jump right to the parent company for Microsoft, show you what kind of information you can find. And first of all, one thing that you will see is that you've got a menu on the left-hand side, blue menu, with tons and tons of information. So under every one of these categories, this is all clickable information from the company summary, the corporate overview, the IT profile, the latest news stories, analyst reports, filings, financials, annual reports. It just goes on and on and on. When you take a look at the body of the screen, first of all, I want to make sure that you understand what these little icons stand for. And the first one is a folder, and that's just simply a way that you can click and add this company to your list of favorites, so you can pull it up real easily from the saved items when you come in again. You can create an alert on this company, so you can come back and check on the recent news for the company. That's what you saw an example of at the beginning of the session. And they've got it all set up for you, and all you need to do is say save. Then when you come back to your saved items, you'll see that you have the latest news on this company. Now, there is one feature here that is not working correctly, and that is an email alert. This is a feature that was actually set up so that you could get these news stories delivered directly to your email account. We've got some technical issues with that right now, so the best thing to do is just go ahead and save, and then come back, check periodically under your saved items, and you will find all your various companies that you've saved, and you'll be able to pull up the most recent news on that company. If you go through, taking a look at the body of the content here, first of all, there's links all throughout this, but one link, of course, is to the website, and it's always important to get out to the website to see what how a company presents themselves. And then, of course, when you're in career transition, you want to get out to the Career Center or the Employment Center of the company website and check out what's going on there, what they're saying about how they do their hiring, take a look at their job board, and so forth. That's obviously an important thing to do. You can, there's a business description here. You can just keep clicking and clicking for more and more information. There's industry information. And industry information, it's a little bit confusing when you start looking at all these codes and numbers here. The government assigns various numbers to each and every industry, and has developed a classification system. In the United States, it's the North American Industry Classification System that is our most recent and probably most useful classification system for industries. You really don't have to know anything about these companies. These industry codes, but we do have a handout that goes along with this session. I'll talk about where you can access the handouts in just a little bit. That will explain more about the codes. But for the meantime, if even if you clicked on another one, this is all information that has to do with software and programming industry, so you're still going to get good information. But if you go directly into the North American Industry Classification System, it'll probably be the most on target for you. And once again, you'll see the left menu with all kinds of information about the industry, the activities, research reports, and I mean there are just hundreds and hundreds of these research reports, industry profiles within the market research category, latest news stories, analyst reports, and so on. Lots of good information here, but there's a few things that I want to say that go really above and beyond what you can find here in Business Browser. And first of all, just to mention, with industry research, I think it's very important. If you are continuing in the industry that you've already worked in, like some of you said you were in telecom and were thinking about still looking in that industry, it's important that you stay up to date on what's going on in your industry, the events in your industry, the networking opportunities in your industry, certifications, so many things. If you're thinking about exploring a new industry, it's very, very important that you learn about the industry, because you're going to be competing with people who've already worked in that industry. And it's going to be important that you get yourself networked in your new industry, connected in your new industry, and that when you talk to people, you show that you've made yourself knowledgeable about the industry. You can have a very good conversation with them. And that'll just make people really more open to talking to you and taking you seriously. Now, in addition, okay, I should say that as a researcher, as someone who's worked in career transition for a long time and does lots of industry research, this is not my favorite place to do industry research. My favorite place to do industry research for people who are in transition is at the website of the professional associations and the professional affiliations in any given industry or any given specialty. I'm wondering how many of you belong to professional associations or affiliations. Just please give me a yes, check for yes if you do. Okay, Greg says no, so I'm going to assume the rest of you probably don't belong either. And I want to, when we get out of Business Browser, it's very important. I want to show you how to get to the websites of those affiliations, associations, and really take advantage of all that they have to offer, because I'm telling you, they are gold mines for people in transition. So please stay tuned for that. And you don't have to belong to these affiliations to take advantage of the information. I'll show you how you can access it without being a member. And I just want to acknowledge that Todd sent an email still having difficulties with his audio problem, and I really am sorry to hear that, Todd. But however, we will reschedule and get back to you. So I'm going to just quickly send it. I'm talking to him, and he can't hear me, I don't think. So let me just send Todd a quick email to thank him for letting me know. Oh. All right. Now moving along here with our business browser, which has talked about the industry information. So I'm going to show you what I think is best for you in terms of gathering that information. But I have to tell you, the people information, the information about contacts and people in the company in this database is absolutely excellent. You can obviously click on names and access executive bios, but there's really much more lively people research that you can do here. And the first thing I'm going to do is click to view all the executives and board members at this company and show you what you can do here. Once these names pop up, you're going to notice that many of them have what they call a web bio. So what's a web bio? Let me show you. A web bio comes from a website called Zoom Info, and that's ZOOMINFO. And Zoom Info is a website. www.zoominfo is a website that you can go to on your own to research people. Now, why it's not letting me do that at this moment, I do not know, but let's try it again. Zoom is a cool website because what it does is it acts as a search engine for people. In other words, it spiders the internet and it goes looking for the person, every mention of the person that it can find, and it brings all the different articles, press releases, LinkedIn profiles, everything about the person it'll bring up for you to take a look at. And it seems like Zoom is, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. The other thing you can do at Zoom, and you could do this yourself, you don't have to be some very famous person to be in Zoom. If the amount of information on you on the web is limited, you can still come in Zoom and you can create a profile of yourself so people at least have the information in your profile when they look you up. But this is somebody who has a prominent job at Microsoft, so obviously he's got lots of information that was pulled up by Zoom. And what I really like about it is that it's all dated so that I know, okay, if I'm doing research on this person and he just got added to this board of directors of the Olympic Committee. This just happened, 2 months ago. So it's very recent information. Here's something, here's another something that just happened within the past couple months, and it's probably an interview with him, somehow connected to a press release from Microsoft. Here's something from some kind of a website having to do with gamers, and a launch of something that they're doing, and he's mentioned, and this is also some recent news. So Microsoft News trackers, looks like that that's going to be lots and lots of good information from the company about that person. So really, it's a wealth of information, and it's information that is very, very recent. Now, the other thing that Business Browser does that I think is fantastic here, when it comes to people research, is they have, let's go back to the key executives, you'll see this little widget here with the in sign. If I click on that, it shows me everybody that I'm connected to at this company. Now, when we talked at the beginning about preparing for interviews, creating correspondence, researching a company, there's just nothing better than connecting to people who have actually worked at the company or who have worked at the company. And this is just a really great way of beginning to connect to those people. How many of you belong to LinkedIn? Catherine, Greg, Mark? Check yes, X no. Oh, you all do. That's great. I'm really glad. So this is something that you don't even have to set this up. You're going to come in here when you start researching these companies, and you're going to click here, and you're going to just start directly go to these people. So you can't beat that for people research. Now you can also see some other topics, significant development, news. I mentioned how updated the news is, and with this being a global database and drawing from magazines, you're even getting news before today's date. We've got February 17th here, and the financials. If there's one thing that you're going to remember when it comes to the menu on the left-hand side, please remember this. Please remember the one-stop report under the profile. When you click on the one-stop report, it allows you to choose whatever information you're interested in, and you can choose all of it if you want, and create a report for yourself that you can print out, you can walk away with it, you can study it, you can save it. It's just a great way of pulling your information together. So in other words, if I want to choose, I'm interested in the company's strategic initiatives, their strengths, their weaknesses, a financial report, make your choices, simply create the report. And it's just loading, just taking a minute here. But here you go, here's everything that I asked for. And as I said, it's very easy to export this to PDF, to print it out. This is awesome information because it really is in-depth. When we talk about gathering information about a company that's going to help you, first of all, be able to decide on whether the company is a good fit for you, this will be invaluable. And it will also be invaluable in giving you insight as to what's going on behind the scenes there. Good questions, good conversation you could have during an interview or a networking session. So here we go with the key organizational changes, the partnerships, products. This is the strengths, the weaknesses of the company. You can see it divided here. These are all links, the strengths, the opportunities, weaknesses, threats. And then, of course, I also requested this financial report. So it's all here. It's information that would have taken forever to pull together on your own, and in fact a lot of it couldn't be pulled together on your own because it's not information that is freely available. So being able to do this so quickly and so easily is just a real benefit. I'm going to hop back to home here. I just want to show you, as I mentioned, the other important demo that I really, oh, Greg, thanks. This is very handy info, and I think it is. Like I said, it's something, you know, it's not just, sometimes people will say, well, what can I get here that I can't get at the website? Well, you can get a lot here that you can't get at the company website, and really a deep dive into what's going on. You know, the other thing that I want to walk you through today is building a list of companies. And that's the target marketing that I was referring to. And what an effective strategy this is to build a list of companies and focus your efforts on connecting to certain companies. Now, I'm going to walk you through this. Don't worry about memorizing it. Don't worry about all the little details. When you registered for today's session, on the workshop calendar, it had a description of the workshop, and you clicked on Refining Your Aim with Research, and it also had handouts related to the workshop. And if you didn't pick those up at that time, you can go back anytime and pick those up. There's a great handout that walks you through creating this target list step by step. You know, shows you this. It has screenshots. It shows you where everything is, how to make your choices. So, you know, it's just a great thing to print out and use as a guide when you do this yourself. But I do want to give you just an overview of what this can do for you. And I'm going to start with location. Because the first thing you have to do when you think about a target list is everybody's obviously targeting some geographic location, whether it be a small geography or a large one. You know, it may be an entire region of the country. It may be two altogether different cities, and you may want to create two lists for yourself. That's another possibility. But you can hone in on an entire state. I'm going to pick the state of New Jersey just for my example. Once you make a selection of a state, you have some nice choices over here where you could target a specific county within that. Well, let's do it this way. I'm not going to do the whole state. Let me do it this way. I'm going to pick New Jersey. And yeah, these are counties within New Jersey. So now I could pick a specific county if that was my intention to look countywide. Another thing that I think is even more useful is the U.S. metropolitan area link. Because, you know, in many states, it's an entire area. You may cross several state lines, and you may want to target that entire area, like the New York, New Jersey, Long Island area, for example, here. Now, the other thing you may want to do is you may want to target a specific city within your state. I'm going to say Bridgewater, and I know people mentioned, you know, other places during these introductions, so whatever your place is, you have an opportunity to pick a city. What you may even want to do is, rather than pick your specific city, is you may want to do a radius search and put in, they call it a postal code. It's the same thing as the zip code. Put in your zip code, and maybe you'd prefer to do a search not of your city, but maybe of 10, 20 miles around your zip code. That's just another possibility for you. For today's example, I'm just going to use Bridgewater, New Jersey as my example. Just pick a city and a state. Now the next thing is the industry classification, and this gets a little more complicated because, as I mentioned, you may be looking for a specific industry, in which case this is going to be pretty handy for you. But you also may be thinking of more than one industry or exploring several industries. And that, you know, will widen your search. You could certainly do a search on several industries. You may, in fact, not even be industry specific, although it is good if you can do some market assessment and start targeting industries that you are most interested in working for. But even if you're not industry specific, you don't have to put in an industry, but you would really want to try to target, in that case, really try to hone in by company size, maybe number of employees in companies, sales, the companies that have grown the most over the year in your location, or maybe you'd even want to target Fortune 1000 companies in your location. There's a lot of ways to specify criteria, but really the goal with this is to get a manageable number of companies on your target list. It's not going to do you any good if you get a list of 400 companies because it's too many. You just don't even have the time or energy to go through all that. You want to hone this list down. 20 companies is a good amount, maybe even 30, but you want to be able to really research each company individually, try to connect with people in the company, and make it so that the company, that you can set yourself up to in the company's view, and hopefully establish a relationship with someone there. So anyway, back to the list itself. If you do have some industries of interest, you can see industry classification, high-tech product codes. You could use a word from the business description. You could use the one source list for industry. My favorite way to do it is just to go back to, and it's populated already for you, just what I used before when I looked up industry information, and that's the NAICS code 2002. You don't have to know anything about the numbers. Just click on this industry classification link. And what you can do is you can start browsing. If you're looking for, okay, let's say finance and insurance, these all have little plus signs. So I could start breaking this down and say, and every plus sign breaks down further. So maybe I'm interested in insurance carriers and related activities. I might want a list of just insurance carriers. Check that off. Maybe I want a list of agencies and brokerages. Whatever I'm interested, I can come in here. I can check it off. A really good way to search is to just do a text search. Use the shortest version of the word. Let's use telecom. And what it's going to do now is, I'm going to run the search. It's going to show me everywhere that this word appears in this particular directory. So, and it's going to check it off for me. So this is nice. If I'm interested in the telecom industry, I see here, all these things are checked off. All these things have the word telecommunications or telecom. Now it's my choice. I can just say, wow, this is great. I want to keep this just as it is. Or I can come in here and say, you know what, I'm not really interested in wired carriers. I'm going to take that away. I'm only interested in wireless. And I could just start playing with the check marks. So, it's flexible. You're free to come in and make your choices. Once you have your choices made, you're going to save the choices and close the screen. Now, I'm going to do something a little different than telecommunications for this search here today. I'm going to use the example that I'm a pharmaceutical rep. And what I'm looking for is companies that manufacture pharmaceuticals. Those are obviously going to be my target companies. So now I'll come up with all the check marks in the categories that mention pharmaceutical and medicine manufacturing. I'll leave this as it is. I'll target pharmaceutical companies. I'll just save and close. And as I said, for the people here, some of what you've told me today, you may be choosing insurance, you may be choosing telecom. And when I come back and look, I've got my city and state chosen, and I've got my industry chosen. And I don't know anything about that number, but the database just knew when I checked off pharmaceutical, it knew to plop in that number. If I check off telecom, it'll know what number to plop in there, and it's all set to go. The other category that you want to pay attention to is size. Most people do have preference about the size of company they work for, and sometimes it's just completely built on what your function is within a company. In other words, if you're an operations manager or in some kind of management position. You may be looking for a larger company. You may not want every little mom and pop company popping up here because they're not going to need, senior managers. So think about what it is you do and what the reasons are for choosing a company size. And you can do that by sales figures. You can do it by number of employees. Let's just say I want to target pharmaceutical companies that have at least $1 million in sales. I'll just put the 1 there because it already has $1 million. And I don't even have to put a top figure. I could just say $1 million in sales and over. There's other categories. You can browse these. These mostly have to do with global companies, so really they're not probably going to be applicable to what you're looking for in your search. But you can see what I did. I targeted a specific city, a specific industry, and a specific size company by sales figure. And now what I'm going to do is I've got everything in there. And I'm moving this over so you can see this. I'm going to run my search. Got all my criteria in there, and I'm going to run my search. Okay, 7 companies matched my search results. So let me take a look. Let me view my results and see what those companies are. All right. Here's 7 manufacturers of pharmaceuticals with over $1 million in sales, located in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Now, the great thing about this list is that all these company names are links. So all I have to do is click on the company name, and that quick I am able to research the company and go through all the information that we talked about before. I can see who I'm related to in LinkedIn at that company. I can research the executives. I can take a look at the latest news stories for this company, and it's all right here for me. I can save this list. I can create custom tables with these lists. And I'm not going to go through that today because that's the type of thing you don't really remember how to do until you get your hands on it. But the handouts that I referred to will walk you through that process step by step. What I'd like to do is just make sure everybody has the concept of targeting companies and creating these target lists. And if anybody has any questions or comments, please raise a hand, throw it into text chat. I'd be happy to show you anything again, or just answer anything about, even if it's about your own specific target list, something that you want to find out about how you'll get started with that list. Okay, well hopefully that means that there's a certain comfort level going on here. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's a good thing. So let's hop back to home. Oh, let me ask you this question. Is anybody here IT specific when it comes to creating target lists of companies? In other words, you care more about, you're an IT person, you care more about the softwares, the systems, and so forth that the company uses rather than the industry information? Give me a check mark if that applies to anyone. Okay, I didn't think it did from the introductions, but I just wanted to make sure so I could give you that information. And also, nowadays you hear a lot about people having some interest in government positions. So you just want to make sure that if you go under the company category up here at the top navigation bar, there's a government search available where you can actually look up a government agency and do the same kind of research that you can do for a company. So that's available to you as well. We'll move along right here through the quick search. Executives, pretty easy just to plop in a name and see what you can find. Industries, as I said, putting in an industry keyword or an industry code or an industry activity will lead you to the industry information. And news and articles. You could put a word in here let's say you were interested in getting some news stories that mention Microsoft, but it's not a very refined search. And what I mean by that is, you know, if I put Microsoft in here, there's about 1 million articles that are going to come up mentioning Microsoft. And there's probably something very specific I'm looking for. The best way to do a news search is to get under the news and reports category. And there's an advanced news search for those of you who are brave searchers. But even the basic news search, honestly, will get you to a great deal of important information. You can see here that when you come in, you can do a keyword search, and you can also indicate what sources you want your news pulled from. Traditionally, it'll be news stories and articles. You can, this is a nice feature, date range. You know, maybe you're only interested in very recent news from this week or the last 30 days. If so, you can indicate that. Maybe you want to go back for years and research something. You can indicate that as well. But the keyword search box allows you to put in as many words as you want to see in the articles that you bring up. So in other words, if you are, you know, researching Microsoft and you're specifically interested in articles that mention Microsoft executive, you would say Microsoft and executive. And maybe you're specifically interested in finding out about the compensation for executives. So Microsoft and executives and compensation. And now, you know, the more words you add here, the more refined your search is going to be, the more on target to what you're looking for. But I just want to quickly show you that searching the news can be a very fruitful endeavor. And when I talk about hidden opportunities, the news frequently will contain mention of growth opportunities in certain areas, in certain industries and specialties. It will frequently contain mentions of movers and players in different fields and different industries. There's a lot you can find out about events, connecting with people by browsing through the news. And one thing I like to do is recommend to people that you start looking within your specific area, you know, whether it's Austin and Texas, and, you know, it could be your specific in telecom, just to find articles about what's going on in your industry, in your geography. And maybe you want to even, you know, refine that further and put in the word grow and growth or jobs. Don't know how much I'm going to get here, but, you know, if you want to search last year, just see what happens. And the first thing that pops up for me is the news stories. You can see they're coming from Business Wire, PR Newswire, and you would, of course, have to start browsing through. Some of them will be right on target for you. Some of them will probably be a little off base, but that's just the way it works. The articles can be interesting as well. Pioneer Engineering. I'm going to make this a little bit, I'm going to go back and make this a little broader just so I can show you something. So I just want to go down and see if I picked up some more articles this way. Yeah, and this is what I wanted to point out. Some really powerful industry publications, not Power Engineering, Wireless News. Some of you in telecom may know of this publication, and it's telling you there's a new board of directors here elected. But as I said, you'd have to go through, obviously, lots from Wireless News. I'm going to go back up for a minute, too. trying to find a good one to click on. Let's just click on this. It's just happened today, or at least it was just released today, or yesterday, sorry, the 15th. So here's an Austin-based company, Movero Technology, that you all might have heard of. And, you know, it says they've acquired a wireless management technology leader in the fiercely competitive telecom expense management space. They're going to change their name. You got names of some people here, what they're up to, and the acquisition may indicate, and the movement may indicate that there is some growth going on, some job opportunities available. And you know, right here you've got some links to the websites. You may want to go check them out, see what they're doing, and see if maybe there's some opportunities available in terms of, you know, job postings, networking opportunities, whatever. But my main point here is just to show you that there's so much going on in the news, and you're getting it right when it's happening. You may be one of the very first people to jump into these opportunities. You may find out about things before, as I said, before a job opening would ever be published to a job board, because they're really in a process now where they may not have gotten to the point of publishing openings, but people are networking their way into the organization. Okay, so lots and lots you can do with the business browser. It's just a wonderful resource. If anybody has any questions, please raise a hand, any comments. And if not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one last thing before I take you back to the auditorium and wrap up our session for today. And that is I'm going to go back to IMPAXIS, because I wanted to just make sure that I showed you what you can find at the various industry and specialty professional associations and affiliations. And in order to get to those, I'm going to go back to the home page here, and we have another database under our research tools, and that database is called Links. And Greg made a very good comment. He does have questions, but he's going to have to play to get familiar with the resource. I'm glad you made that comment, Greg, because it so often happens that, yeah, questions come long after the session is ended. So I thank you for that comment, and let me show you something here. I'm going to go back to Business Browser for just a minute, respond to that. And what I'm going to tell you is the Business Browser has an incredible support team. So if you start working in this and you have questions, you need some assistance, just go to support up in the top right corner here, and you will see that you can contact the researchers at Business Browser by sending an email, by calling them on the phone. You could even click on live support and have a text chat with them while you're doing something. I've done that. When I've been looking for something in the news and I'm not coming up with what I want, and I've told, you know, I explain to them what I'm doing, and they start asking me questions, and they start giving me some suggestions of other words to try. Really an awesome team, so do take advantage of that when you're in here. Okay, let's go back to, and the online tutorials, absolutely, they're fabulous. I'm glad you noticed that, Catherine. They're right here. So one thing I have to say that they do very, very well is they really support their resource, and they really make sure that people can find what they're looking for. Let's go back to IMPAXIS. Let me just show you these affiliations before we wrap up. And to do that, I'm going to the Links directory. And Links is our, what we call our hand-picked directory of over 2,500 of the best websites on the internet for people in transition. And I encourage you to get in here and just, no matter what part of the job search you're looking at, there's going to be a category in Links that's going to be helpful to you. But for today's session, the category that's related is under the network topic, and that's the second one down here. And the category is finding professional associations. How do you find professional associations? It's just loading slowly here. I'm not seeing anything myself, so. All right, here comes a variety of recommended websites, and what these websites are, first of all, if you start to look like ASAE, Gateway to Associations, this is it's actually a directory that you can use. You make your choices, you tell them where you're located, you know, what your specialty is, what your industry is, and then they give you a whole bunch of links to websites of associations related to your interests. Association job boards, another online directory. You put in your information and it directs you to association websites that actually have job postings. So that's one category that might be useful to you. The other one that's nice is a category that we called Association Community by Discipline, Industry, Location. And we pulled together quite a few association websites, as well as what we call community websites, because some of them are not officially associations, but really just an industry or a specialty-related community of people. But we went into some of the more popular industries, for example, and pulled together a list. So, you know, you got in here and you do see that telecommunications is one of the categories. If you went into the discipline related, you would see that sales is one of the categories. So you can just browse the different categories and see what might be of interest to you, but I'll just pick up on telecommunications here. And as you look through here, these are telecommunications associations as well as online magazines, which are also great, you know, websites, and help websites catering to telecommunications professionals. But let's just take a look at one of the industry associations. TIA, this is a very big one in the telecommunications field. I'll just bring it up so you get some idea of what goes on at these association websites and why I really like these when you're researching a specific industry or discipline. Come in here and I see, and as I said, remember, there are parts of it, usually what happens is there's parts of the websites that they want you to be a member to access, but there's also lots and lots of information that is free to anyone who comes on this website. So you take a look here and you see there's all kinds of events, maybe events in your area you want to attend that could provide you with some great networking opportunities, certifications if you want to find out about education, market review, forecast, standards, industry alerts, articles, policies, and of course every one of these categories has more information underneath it. Take a look at research and resources. I just think if you're researching industry, this is just the way to go. You know, some things are for purchase, some things are for free, but honestly, if you dig long enough, you're going to find a lot of great free information. And there's always links to industry websites that could be important to you. And honestly, I could go on and on under every category, but publications, videos, podcasts, events. So do check out the related associations and affiliations in your own field, and as I said, some of them even contain job boards and so forth. So it just depends on the specific association how much they will provide you with. But if there are no further questions, I'm going to go back to the auditorium and wrap up our session. Just to remind you, back to the business browser and to the demo that we saw today, one of the great things about Business Browser is the ability to create a target list of organizations. And what I really like is once you create that list, it's an immediate live link to the organization and all the research information on the organization. Don't forget, those professional association websites are great for industry research, and those were under the links in IMPAXIS. That LinkedIn connection is just a super thing. Get out there and connect to people in your target companies. And you know what? It's going to show you, be sure you take a look for two things. One is the people that you're connected to who work at the company, and then start taking a look for people who have worked at the company. Obviously, you're going to get two real different points of view, but I think that they will both be valuable in their own right. Set up those news alerts. Keep track of those companies, the people, your topics of interest. Find out what's happening in your area, what companies are doing in your particular industry, and stay on top of opportunities. That way, you can really begin to connect before many other people even know about what's going on. And once again, I'll just mention that the screen where you registered on the workshop calendar for this workshop, and even if you didn't register, even if for those who listen to recording, you can still go back to the workshop calendar. You can still click on Refining Your Aim with Research, and there's some really nice handouts, the presentation notes. There's a one-source Business Browser user guide. There's as I said, a handout walking through the entire process of creating target lists in Business Browser, and just a quick tip sheet to help you understand what all those numbers and codes are all about for industries. And that does bring us to the end of our session. I always offer to help with questions at the end of the session. If you have anything, even if it's really specific that you're looking for, please let me know, and I will do my best to help you. And I also want to thank you for your participation today, and wish you all luck in using this tool. I think that it's really, the more you use it, the more excited you're going to be about all that it can do for you, and it's going to help you take the next step. And Greg made a great comment. Thanks so much. There's so much information out there. It's mind-boggling. I will start checking out the Business Browser this afternoon, and it is mind-boggling, Greg. And that hopefully, because so much is contained in one database, the Business Browser, you're at least you can be grateful that it's all in one place, because otherwise, boy, you'd be out there Googling your heart out and never really find all that that's pulled together for you, as I said, in the Business Browser. So step by step, it is absolutely mind-boggling, but the more you get your own hands in it, I think the more you'll become comfortable with gathering the research. It really is a user-friendly database. That's what I like about it. So thanks for the smile. Thank you all so much. You were a great audience, and I appreciate it.